Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Inside Gators Football presented by UF Health. Great now to visit with head coach Jon Sumrall as the Gators now are finally set to go for your first spring practice. Has the moment hit you a little bit yet, Coach, that you're going to finally get them out on grass and play some football here as a group in the spring?
Yeah, it just hit because we finally beat the gauntlet. So now I'm able to kind of transition from off-season conditioning, team building, accountability, discipline, structure training to where we're able to go, all right, it's football time. It's time to line up in formations. Not that we haven't been doing that already to some degree, but now do it with more intent with 11 guys on one side versus 11 on the other.
I think fans need to know what the gauntlet is. I think they've heard a little taste of it. I'm not so sure they know exactly what went into it and why you felt that your team had to beat the gauntlet before you even started talking about playing football again.
Yeah, I think it's the old school traditional mat drills, if you will, okay. Where you're at a station. Our format has 6 different stations with a pit in the middle for the injured guys that can't participate. The first round, or the first half, if you will, each station is 2.5 minutes. You're paired up with the same guy all morning. There's a winner and a loser to every rep. We go to halftime, 4-minute break. Come back out, it's 1:45 at each station again. All right, then you go back, and then we go to overtime. You go back to the stations, one last round in the overtime. Everybody has to be perfect through the entire facility for us to beat the gauntlet in that last round of overtime. If there's one mistake, we lose. And so it's an accountability contest. Most football games, they're not won. Somebody loses it. And we're trying to make sure we don't beat ourselves. You can't beat anyone until you don't beat yourself. And it's elevating the standard. It's creating structure, discipline, but also competing. Because like I said, the whole morning, it's 2 guys matched up. And every rep, there is a winner and there is a loser.
In a one-on-one competition, but then the team has its own challenge collectively to beat the clock, right?
Yep.
You do it in perfect fashion.
Yeah, it's 1 hour. You got 1 hour to beat it. Every mistake takes 3 seconds off the clock. So your hour can become 55 minutes if we have too many mistakes.
Failure's a part of the deal. I get it. So there has to be a process to it. It's not like they're going to get it on the first run. Otherwise, what's the point? How many times did it take the team to finally come together and beat the gauntlet here?
It was gauntlet number 8. Yeah, it took us 8 of them. Got really close a couple times. Gauntlet 6 and 7 got close. We're under 30 seconds from beating it twice, and had mistakes that happened within 30 seconds of finishing. And yeah, you have to find a way when the game is on the line or winning is on the line. Being perfect is required. If you wait to give your best in October and you think that's when you're going to find a way to win games, you're going to be really disappointed because your best is required every day.
It's interesting. Coach told me about a couple weeks ago, he said, look, we'll do the gauntlet all spring if that's what it takes to pass it. So the Gators have won the gauntlet and now are set to begin spring ball this next week. Jon, I'm curious what this has been like at Florida leading up to your first spring practice with a new team as opposed to the other 2 times that you've done it.
Yeah, unique. When I took the head job at Troy, coming off of 3 straight years of 5 wins a year only, I walked in and evaluated the roster and thought, we've got some talent here. We need to harness it. It needs direction. It needs structure. I go to Tulane, and go back. Troy, I felt like, was a pretty easy get it going because the guys were hungry. They were eager for what we were bringing. Everybody wants to win. They wanted to win. And so if I told them, hey, run into that wall, it's going to help us win, they would have gone and run into the wall. Then I go to Tulane. They'd already started winning a little bit the previous couple years before we arrived. Probably had more work to do, to be quite honest, on that roster. That roster was less intact. It was less maybe well-rounded at the time that I walked in, but the standards of championship expectations had already been created. And so the culture of the building was pretty good. This is kind of a blended situation, I feel like. We have talent here. The guys are hungry and eager like they were at Troy. We've got to create a blue-collar, tough mindset to where we aren't going to back down to any situation or scenario or opponent, no matter when things happen, good or bad. We're going to respond the right way all the time. And so I think, maybe a little bit like Tulane, there's probably an expectation of championships here, and there always has been and always will be. That's part of what excited me about coming here. So I think a little bit of a blended situation here at Florida.
You're going to have position battles all over the field starting here in these weeks through the spring workouts. Obviously, the quarterback is such a prominent position. You have an open quarterback competition now at Florida. What have you learned from those situations in the past as to how you want to conduct a quarterback competition here in Gainesville?
Well, every year the slate is clean. So even if I was returning it at another place previously, nobody is owed anything. You get what you earn. And so my first year at Troy won the conference championship and went 12-2 and finished 19th in America, and our quarterback was Gunnar Watson. Well, the next year, Gunnar had to re-earn his job.
Interesting.
You don't just get given anything. This is a performance-driven game, and you have to perform. And so the quarterback job is open. That's exciting. It creates competition. What I'm most excited about is everybody on our team understanding that we're competing with each other, not against each other. I think the guys in that quarterback room have done a phenomenal job up to this point displaying that to the rest of the roster of we're on the same team. We're all Florida Gators. Nobody elevates by pushing someone else down. Iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another.
Yeah.
You getting better makes me want to get better. And so I'm excited to watch the guys compete. I'm excited to watch those battles kind of take shape.
And I guess the follow-up to that would be this. Is the quarterback competition process the same as, say, an edge rusher or the starting running back? Or does that position have to have a unique process or a set of mechanics to it because that position's different than everything else?
Yeah, I think the number of opportunities each guy gets to run with the ones matters, right? So, and the number of opportunities they get to run with the ones against the ones, that matters. You can help yourself in that competition even if you're with the second or third group. You know, going back to real life examples, I took the job at Tulane. Darian Mensah ended up being our starter in year one. Well, he was the third quarterback on the roster the beginning of August that year. And so you can help yourself no matter what group you're running against. The quarterback one is unique because it's so fluid and there is a process that you have to be fully thorough with. You know, and there's not so much situational football at quarterback, even though you may bring in a better runner to run certain packages at times. Edge rushers, you may find a guy that, hey, he's a third down designated pass rusher. He's not a first and second down base guy. Then you may have a nose who's good on first and second down, but he's coming off the field on third downs because he doesn't have rush ability. Quarterback, you're playing the game every down. And so it's about which guys lead. It's about protecting the football. It's about maybe creating some synergy within the offensive huddle when you walk in. The intangibles component to playing that position matters so much greater than any other position on the field.
Well said. Coach, I don't know because I haven't worked with you long enough yet. Are you looking at spring practice as, just as an example, these are the 5 things I want to make sure we're done at the end of spring practice? Or is there some other method to what you do in the spring, and if you wouldn't mind previewing what your process will be with this group?
Yeah, I think there's certain checklist items in every phase that you want to get accomplished, okay? And so, for example, in the kicking game, in the spring, I emphasize by the end of the spring, I want to be able to kick field goals at a high level and 11-on-11 punt at a high level. The other phases in the kicking game, we will drill but maybe not go hole versus hole or 11-on-11 as much. It's about finding out what skill sets guys have that we can maybe highlight in the fall. Then you go to offense. Well, what things matter for us to play great offense here? We got to protect the football, number one. Don't turn it over. And so we'll really emphasize ball security and not putting the ball in jeopardy. We'll emphasize playing physical at the line of scrimmage. We'll emphasize maybe having explosive plays off of our run game, so running the football, but then shots off the run game. Those are things we want to get done. Defensively, it's about getting people off schedule, leveraging the football, those sort of things, and playing good situational football. And then within that, each individual, it's how do we elevate each individual? All right, so we're still into individual player development and skill development. And then I'm a huge believer that, man, sometimes it's fundamentals over scheme. Schemes are great, but if you got great players that play with great fundamentals, schemes get better. Okay. And so we can do more But we want to leave the spring and the foundational elements in all three phases schematically we've built to where our guys understand not just what we're doing, but how we want to do it.
Clock starts this next week rather, or at the time that most folks will see this, the week that they'll be watching our interview, and we'll conclude obviously on April 11th. Coach, two things here at the end of our conversation this time around. You have been making the rounds with different media outlets and fan groups and whatnot. What do you think's the one question you haven't been asked that would give more insight into either who you are or what you're about as a football coach?
I don't know that I haven't been asked all the questions. I think they've all come.
Yeah.
Nobody's asked who the starting quarterback's going to be yet, and if they did ask, I wouldn't give them an answer yet. But I feel like I've tried to be as open as I can be. I have a great deal of respect for our fan base. That's part of what attracted me here. We have great passion, great fire, great energy for Florida football and Florida athletics as a whole. I think one of the things that I think is so cool, I was talking with somebody this morning, is everybody here has championship standards, whether it's Todd and the guys in basketball or softball or baseball, Sully, everybody, Coach Walton in softball, everybody has championship expectations and standards. That's why you come to the University of Florida.
Well, that's the perfect lead into what I wanted to conclude our conversation with. If you watch Coach Sumrall right now on social media, pretty active in the offseason, probably changes during the season. But, Coach, one thing you've done is you shared through your social media channels all the different sports and venues that you've been popping in on around campus. How are you getting that done, number one, and what has been the most enjoyable for you through kind of making the rounds?
In full transparency, I'm not going to mislead anybody. I have probably not gone from first inning to ninth inning of a baseball game yet.
Fair enough.
Because that takes maybe more time than I have. I have watched a couple of our basketball games from beginning to end. Man, I have such respect and appreciation for the other coaches here.
Yeah.
I think Jeremy Foley started several years ago, Team Florida. Like, I remember hearing about that and tracking that and following that. And so, to me, a rising tide raises all ships. And we're there for each other. Like, I've already felt connected to the other coaches in our athletic department. And it's been so fun to watch our student athletes compete in every sport. And I just enjoy it. I love competition. Like, we compete every day, even in the offseason in our building. There's nothing more fun than going and watching somebody lay it on the line and give everything they got in a craft that they've trained incredibly hard at. And so I've got a great deal of respect for the people here, the student athletes here. I've had a blast already kind of immersing myself watching the other sports compete.
That's awesome. Coach, we wish you the best here as you and the Gators begin spring practice. Look forward to the next time we get to visit.
Thank you.
Head coach Jon Sumrall, Inside Gators Football, as always, presented by UFL.